Today I would like to inform you about abuse of the elderly, also known as elder care abuse. According to the APA, or the American Psychological Association, every year an estimated 2.1 million older Americans are victims of physical, psychological, or other forms of abuse and neglect. Those statistics may not tell the whole story. For every case of elder abuse and neglect that is reported to authorities, experts estimate that there may be as many as 5 cases that have not been reported. Physical and mental abuse in elderly care, like in a nursing home, is more common than we realize, making this a problem that needs to be taken care of, especially since so many of us will have to put parents and grandparents, and possibly even down our spouses, into a nurse or in an assisted living facility, or even by hiring a live-in caregiver.
This is very often a difficult and painful decision that families have to make and must be made with much thought and care. While doing research for this topic, I found out what abuse was and the different ways to help prevent abuse from happening and some options for reporting abuse. Now I would like to begin by explaining to all of you what abuse really is. There are 3 main types of abuse that are prevalent in elder care. There is physical abuse, psychological abuse, and emotional abuse. It is also fairly common for the elderly to have their finances exploited and to experience unintentional neglect as well as intentional neglect. The most obvious form of abuse is physical abuse. This can be anything from hitting, pushing, beating up, or using restraints. A restraint is considered abuse in most cases when you do anything to an older person that does not allow them to move. Restraints can range from leg restraints, arm and wrist restraints, and even full body restraints. It is even considered a restraint when you push someone who is in a wheelchair too close to a wall or a table and put the brakes on their chair so that they cannot move. Or when you have guardrails up on a bed that do not allow someone to get out of bed. There are many things that can be considered restraints that many of us would not even think of, but if they do not allow someone to move, it is a restraint. There is also emotional and psychological abuse. This can be anything from calling someone names or giving them the silent treatment. It can also be abuse when you do not allow someone to be around their family, and even it's considered abuse if you treat an elder person like they are a child. Now that we know what some forms of abuse are, here are some ways to help prevent abuse. The first step to help prevent abuse is to make sure that the people are educated. This means that you need to make sure that the nursing homes are educated, which you can do by looking up online to see if they've all of their training and certifications. Also, make sure that their caregivers and nurses have the proper training. Now, the people in the nursing homes or other facilities are not the only ones that need to be educated. If you are at all involved with the care of elders or have a family member that is being taken care of, it is important that you are educated on the topic as well. Another way to help prevent elder abuse is to give the older person a lot of social contact. If the healthcare facility is keeping the elder isolated, then there is possibly some type of abuse going on. Furthermore, it is very important to have friends and family visiting the older person to make sure that everything is running smoothly. According to Consumer Affairs, you can also check to see if there are any unexplained bruises and scrapes. Bruises and scrapes are very common, so if you see one, it is usually nothing to worry about. The problem comes in when there seems to be a lot of bruises and scrapes and they have no explanations for these marks. Another thing to look for to help prevent abuse is to look at their medications and see if the amount of medication in the bottle matches up with how much should be left. Another big thing to look for to help prevent and stop abuse is if the older person is acting differently when other people are in the room. If you notice that when one person walks into the room, the older person stops talking and looks uncomfortable, there is usually a problem here. These preventative measures and signs of abuse will bring us to the different ways available to report abuse. There are several ways that we can report abuse. The first way that you can report abuse is to talk to the director of nursing at the facility that the older person resides in. The director of nursing is also known as the DON, and she is the one that is in charge of the nurse and caregiver's behaviors. If talking to the DON is not working for you, or you feel that the DON is not performing their job appropriately, you can also go to Consumer Affairs online and find the number to an Adult Protective Services in your state. It is also possible to look on the website for Adult Protective Services and find the numbers for your state.
There are elder protective laws in every state, and the APA, or Adult Protective Services, will look into any reports of suspected abuse. There is even help for people who feel that they are the ones being abusive. You need to take yourself out of that situation and talk to a counselor or other self-help group. Abusive behaviors is hard to prevent, but there are many ways that we can report it. If at all concerned, look at www.consumeraffairs.com or go to www.apa.org and type in elder abuse. Now that we have explored the main types of abuse, some preventative measures, and a few ways to report abuse, I hope that you keep this information in mind if it ever comes to the point in your life when you do have to consider putting a parent, grandparent, or down the road, a spouse, into some kind of assisted living facility. If you are knowledgeable about abuse and the different measures that you will need to take to try and help prevent abuse, it will be easier to make this tough time in an elder's life enjoyable, because a positive experience with someone helping our loved ones with their personal and daily cares can keep them safe and happy.